this is not a new problem. It's always been there. People tend to want to jump on things that they see to be successful or they perceive to be successful, or if they think something is working already, they want to see how they can build on it. Case in point, the quest for Guinness World Records, right? Wasn't a thing, wasn't as big of a deal in Nigeria as it was 3 years ago. Yeah. Now suddenly, the last 3 years, everybody wants to attempt to break a world record, which is good. It's nice. No one is stopping you, but the problem now comes when you can tell when people did not think it through very well. So it doesn't have the effect or the impact that it's meant to have. You use Hilda is a fantastic, case study. She obviously has attempted to do this thing in private many times, but not a lot of people are as thoughtful anymore. So if you show that you've even taken an hour or so to think about this thing that you want to do, it will come out in the results and the whatever the aftermath is. So I think that's one thing that we don't see a lot of. And the second thing that I think people don't do enough of, all the mistakes that I'm seeing, is there is this abject lack of differentiation in our market. Again, it stems from the willing or the drive or the desire to copy things that work, because there are not a lot of playbooks out there. Especially when people succeed, they don't document their process. And so it's difficult for you to, if for instance, and this is why I like Fisayo, right? Fisayo is here. One of the reasons why I really like Fisayo is that if you follow Fisayo closely, you know how Fisayo became Fisayo that he is today, because he has documented his process. At least if you are paying attention and you watch his videos carefully, he has talked about his process so many times. You can pick apart the things that work and the things that don't work just by looking at him, listening to him speak. But that's not the norm in Nigeria. First of all, you understand how the Nigerian business market works. You may not like it, and we shouldn't like it. I'll be very honest, I didn't like a lot of the things that I saw in the book. But now I know that if I want to do business and I want to succeed in this country, there are specific things that I must be willing to do. Specific people I must be willing to know. Now, the question is, am I willing to do those things, or do I feel like I can do it in a different way and achieve a different but equally good result? So again, that level of thoughtfulness and awareness, social awareness, cultural awareness is really lacking in our society. And it's why events like this are important, so that we can better understand people's processes. So I'll stop there, but there's a lot more to say, but I think those are the two things that I would like to drive home. Right. I've been advocating for so many years for creators to think beyond, and I know it's hard. I understand. I promise you I understand. This is a market where it's incredibly difficult to think 2 years ahead, because you don't know what is in front of you. You understand? It's difficult. You're thinking about survival. But I also know that this industry is now at a point where a creator can actually make certain demands from brands, where if a brand is coming to you, let's do this together. All right, if I was going to charge you, and again, this takes foresight, so not everybody has the skill. If I was going to charge the brand maybe 10 million naira, ballpark figure, for a deal of X amount of years, I would say, okay, I won't bill you 10 million naira. I'll bill you 2 million naira, but you give me equity, right? And in giving me equity, I'm also going to sign a brand ambassadorship deal with you, where for the next 5 to 7 years, I am your main brand ambassador, and I am going to push your brand as if it is my own. We're going to sign a contract. And then every single detail of this conversation is going to reflect in that contract, where the same way some of your employees or some of your investors, for instance, have the option to exit on the secondaries market, whatever, right? I also will have that same option. So, and this is usually valid for the tech brands. If I was going to, so you give me 2 million now, but when it's time for you to raise your seed or your Series A or your Series B, whatever, I can choose at that time that I want to exit. Again, it takes a level of foresight and deliberate planning. I keep using this word, deliberate, because I sadly don't see enough of it. I'm not saying I don't see any of it. I just don't see enough of it in this market. And I know that this industry, media, content, creator economy, whatever you want to call it, is at the point where people can start to make those demands. You can start to request for those things because collectively we are more aware of certain systems, how things work in other parts of the world. The other part of this that I don't see enough of is using your community to sell products. So it's not just merch, digital products. I really like this company called Seller because the numbers are there. Seller paid out 9.88 billion naira to creators last year. What that means is that there is an actual creator middle class. But that middle class is small. It's not big enough, but it could be bigger. Instead of chasing brand deals, why not figure out what you can sell? Like you have some form of expertise as a creator that you can sell. And when I say creator, I don't mean just video creators because we fall into that trap where when we think of content creation, we think of just video. Think writers, think artists, think performers, skit makers. Yes, they are part of it, but it's not just limited to that. So I think when we have more people who are deliberate about one, ownership. So ownership is the key word. And then just leveraging your community, building products that people who follow you want to buy, or investing in people who are building products that people who are following you want to buy. You're thinking more long term and you're not just thinking about the next paycheck. We need more of that in this market. The biggest advantage that I have had over my career is that I have been mentored, and I don't like to use the word mentorship because I've never really approached anybody to mentor me, but I have learned from some of the most intelligent, most highly skilled people anywhere in the world. One of my first models or mental models of possibility. So I grew up in a church setting, and for much of my teenage and my early years, I attended Winners. And if you know anything about Winners, it's always possibility mentality. Like it is possible. It doesn't really matter what is going on, what is going wrong in the world. As long as this thing is in front of me, it is possible. So that really helped. And for you, who is growing up in this kind of society where there is a lot that is going wrong, it is very easy for you to veer off course because you are focused on the wrong people. So I think that's the first thing that I would say. Look for people who can show you a very, very vivid picture of possibility. That's the first thing that I would say. And this is generally applicable to anybody. But another thing that I would say is the structure part. If you can get a job early in your career so that you know how to operate within structure, how to run a business. It doesn't matter if you're a creator or not. What you are doing is business. It's a career. You hope to make money from it. And you don't want to be the kind of person who make a lot of money in the beginning of the year. By the middle of the year, because deals are drying up, you are broke. And then that now makes you desperate. You could express your artistry in multiple ways, but that's your niche. That's something that when people think about you, they can identify you with, and you're not just trying to do everything at once. So, Okoye Mighty, I hope that is useful to you and to any other young person sitting in the crowd. I hope you find that useful. But yes, that's what I would say. So, structure, mentorship, pick a niche. Have a vision, have a clear idea of where you want to be, what you want to do, and then I think that will really set you apart.